Hi everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Voice of Silence, where we are paying respect or homage to pain, and through our silence, by opening up our silences. Now, what does the word silence really mean? As much as we speak about staying silent through a very positive connotation, which is being mindful about what we do, I think we all also have to agree that silence or not speaking up can sometimes be really damaging as well. And I think all of us would have experienced some sort of repercussion of not speaking up. But I think the best person for this to take it forward for today's episode, which is the 41st episode, will be Dr. Swati Uppal, who's our 41st speaker. And she's very graciously agreed to share her story with the rest of us. So I really, really hope that we all take away something from today's episode. And with that, here's Dr. Swati Uppal. Please can we give her a round of applause? And thank you everyone for being here. Thank you so much. Dr. Swati, over to you.
Thank you so much for having me here, Kanika. It's a pleasure to be here in a house full and be with you on this table.
It's our pleasure, I'm sure. So, Swati, we would like to begin with your childhood, your family structure, and your early experiences, just so that we lay a ground as to what we are really speaking about, and to know you a little better.
My early years. Once upon a time, in a land not very far away, a princess was born to a king and a queen. So when I look back at my childhood, my early years, that's the kind of picture that comes to my mind. I was raised in a joint family. My grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, all 18 of us under one roof. So picture that. And the context here is the 80s and the 90s. It's not the current times, so we need to shift our mindsets there. My memory as a child is that of being a very loved member of the family. I mean, 17 members all doting on me. It was very owned, protected, well provided for. Not spoiled, but very well provided for. And rooted, very, very rooted. So my family was very traditional, customs, traditions. That's the kind of ecosystem I had around me. Now, in the whole process, the only thing that probably lacked was exposure. And when I say exposure, it is to the worldly things, the negative worldly things, if I may say. So when I say protected, it was to the extent that even a movie or anything on TV which carries even the slightest of violence was not ever allowed to be played in the house. It was that protected, it was that full of love that I had grown up in. So मेरे लिए प्यार के अलावा कुछ था ही नहीं लाइफ में. Like I just knew be good, do good, and good will happen. That was the equation, that was the mathematics, and इसके अलावा तो कुछ होता ही नहीं ना लाइफ में. So yeah, and things were good. My graduation, I went to hostel. Things were good. I had beautiful people around me. You see a lot of them here. And post that, during my masters of dental surgery, midway through my masters, I was married. That is where the twist came in. That is where kya kind of a moment in my life came in कि ऐसा भी होता है? You got to be kidding me. But it happened. There were a lot of incidences, but to cut the long story short, there was physical abuse in the marriage, there was mental abuse, and there was emotional abuse. So To give you an example, in less than 30 days of being married, I had lost close to 12 kilos as weight, and I've never been overweight or something. So imagine this minus 12. So that is what was happening. The interesting bit here is that I did not even realize what is happening, because I never had the concept of abuse, I never had the concept of trauma, I never had the concept of bad happening to people who are giving their best. अब्यूज़ तो बहुत दूर की बात है, मैंने अपने फादर को कभी अपनी मदर से ऊंची आवाज़ में बात करते भी नहीं सुना. So coming from that kind of a home into a place where you're being manhandled, into a place where you're being shouted at, into a place where your family is being abused. Sometimes it gives me goosebumps even today when I think about it, I'll be honest. Mostly I laugh it out. That's probably my way of healing through it. And yes, but it does give me those chills down the spine sometimes.
So, Swati, what I would like to ask you, there are actually two questions. One is, now it is way back in your past, and you use the word healing. So we are going to just stop at the word healing for a bit to use that later. But because we are in that zone and we made it very clear that we're speaking about a historic event, so please everybody, going back to the historic event, I'm now asking you, in that history, in that period of time, not today.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever at that time feel or find yourself blaming your upbringing and your parents?
Never once.
Not once? So
Never once.
So the second question then, why I asked this question is because, I've not been through a similar, kind of similar experience. There was no physical abuse involved, but the childhood bit that you're saying, because I've also been, I'm an army officer's daughter and the older daughter, I'm totally cocooned. To the extent I'm 43 today almost, now my cocoons are opening, But I get what you're saying, but I found myself, maybe because of lack of healing, that's why I said healing word. Maybe because of lack of healing, you tend to always point outside. मेरी गलती तो है नहीं, गलती तो किसी की भी नहीं है actually. Let's face it. I mean, if I go further ahead, everybody that is doing everything, there's a reason behind it. वो बात की बात है. The second question that I want to ask you then, if you're saying no, you did not find yourself placing blame on your parents, then did you feel that ये dream bubble है? Like, did you feel not delusional? The word that I'm looking for is ये मेरे साथ नहीं हो रहा है. I'm not part of this. Like a detachment that what the hell is happening? I don't relate with this. Was that then happening? No. What were the questions in your mind that time?
No, there were no questions per se, but there was a feeling. And I clearly remember speaking to one of my childhood friends. She was in Mumbai at that time. And I remember I was on call with her saying कि Ritu, पता है क्या लग रहा है? So I love dancing. I can dance my way everywhere. मैं कहा रितु ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे क्योंकि मुझे डांस करने का इतना शौक है, किसी ने मेरी दोनों टांगें काट दी हैं और कह रहे जा अब डांस करके दिखाओ. That was the feeling I had at that time. I never once questioned my upbringing, or I never had a doubt that there was a snag in that. See, the way I was brought up, if you will allow me to go a little lyrical here, while the different lullabies all parents sing to their kids, the lullabies that my parents used to sing to me was एक दिन बिक जाएगा माटी के मोह, जब में रह जाएंगे प्यारे तेरे वो, अनहोनी पथ में कांटे लाख बिछाए, होनी तो फिर भी बिछड़ा यार. ऐसी upbringing पे how could I even think there was something wrong? And two words which I would say my parents instilled in me was nirbhav nirvair. ना डर है, ना hatred है. And that is why I or when you asked me, what is your voice? My voice is only of love. That is all that I had, that is all that I have today, and that is all that I will have till the last day of my life.
So that's, yeah, it was a very important, I have to, I like doing this in between where I pause the speaker, because I hope that the question that I asked the speaker, which was, did you place blame on your parents? Because please understand, anybody who's listening, that parents are our source. Okay? And like she said, she's the voice of love. Now here's a person who's sitting, who's probably going to, of course, continue with the story going ahead. But anything that has happened with her is not at all related to how she was brought up or the love that her parents have given to her. That is why I question, because, well, I've been there where I actually question my own parents, and today whatever I am is because of them in terms of my source. So that was a kind of a counter questioning that I was doing, that I hope if anybody is watching and is going through something similar, it is not your parents. It is not your parents at all. They only mean the best for you. And here is a testament of a human being who's standing, and whatever she just said, that is actually a testament of her upbringing and the parents that she was born to. So please continue, because the next question is that you said you spoke about nature and nurture.
Yeah.
In context to your parents and who you are.
Yeah.
How would you like to relate this?
I will get to that. If you'll permit me to just take a step back, you mentioned something about placing the blame and thinking why this happened to me. In place of blame, I would like to use the word responsibility here.
Yes.
And when I look back, I feel I was responsible for what happened to me. Now, when I say that, it's not that I did something in the relation to spoil it. But I did something in a relation which nobody thinks about, which is the relation with my own self. I never once gave a thought to who is Swati. What does Swati want? What does Swati think? I kept walking the path that I was told to walk down. And again, please understand, this is not my parents. This is the society.
Yeah.
This is the conditioning that we have. Take for example, life to be a jungle. Right? Now we are walking down a jungle and we don't have concrete roads or a Google map to tell you a left lane, a right lane, right? When you're walking down, people around you, society around you will tell you, oh, you come from so-and-so family, that's your path. Oh, you've become a doctor, I think you should take that. No, take that, that's better for you. Take that. Okay. Oh, you're the eldest daughter, I think that's the best path for you. And I kept taking whatever was supposed to be the right path. Right? What I realized now, what I realized later, was that that's not how life is supposed to be. That's not what life is about. Be it pebbled, be it tiled, be it lined with roses or with trees, or maybe just fences all around. You've got to make your own path. You have to walk your own way. If you keep listening to what everybody is saying, you will keep digressing. You will never ever reach the other end of the jungle. टाइम तो उतना ही है ना जिंदगी का,
और वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग उस टाइम पे आई या ये अभी आई? दैट्स माय क्वेश्चन.
उस टाइम पे आई होती तो दूसरा ड्रामा कैसे होता? इतने भी समझदार नहीं है. So, नहीं, उस टाइम पे नहीं आई थी, बट उस टाइम पे ये समझ जरूर आ गई थी कि आई एम एन एंटिटी इन माई सेल्फ. उस टाइम पे ये समझ जरूर आ गई थी दैट माई आइडेंटिटी इज नॉट लिंक्ड with being a Mrs. So-and-so. Because up until then, so see, again, I'll take a step back. We'll go back into the upbringing, right? The upbringing was, there was a lot of encouragement, a lot of push to go to achieve something in life. But there was always a pull that said, see, eventually it's your relations. Eventually it's the home you need to make sure. Because that was ecosystem. 4 highly qualified females in my house were housewives. My own mother is an MPhil, right? My aunts, all of them highly qualified. But eventually everybody just looking after the home. So while there was this huge encouragement, there was always that tug which would tell you that, lekin, you know, but,
At the end of it.
yeah. So because of that, I always thought that, yes, I want to be a dentist, I want to have clinics, but with a husband on my side. After this episode, that kind of disintegrated, yeah. So that learning came in that I don't need a mistood next to me for me to be me. But there was still a lot more learning to happen, and I guess that's why God said, "Na putter na, halle nahi, halle ho raha hai." So yeah, that's what.
What happened next?
Next, well, after this episode, I started work because this was all through my studies, right? And after this episode, I got back on my feet. I started building up my career, focusing on that. Life seemed to be blooming. And then came in the second twist, which was my second marriage. And I got married within, I guess, a month or 2 months of having decided that this is the guy that you're supposed to marry. Now, in our understanding, when I say our, I mean me and my family. So, in our understanding, we had taken a very wise decision because this time round there were no gambles. This time round, you know, the family was very well known and very respected in the society, all of that. So, really, this is a safe net. No worries. ठीक है, कर लेते हैं. And I'm the eldest of 3 sisters, so that kind of played at the back of my mind. Like I said, there were still more learnings to happen. Not everything was learned in one go. So I got married. Now here, just picture this. There were a lot of issues. But what was my thought? My thought was, अच्छा कम से कम ये मेरे पे हाथ नहीं उठाता ना, ठीक है, अच्छा है. Now do you realize?
आज जब ये सेंटेंस बोल तो क्या फीलिंग आया? आज ये सेंटेंस सोच के कि मैंने ये सोचा तब. आज सोच के what do you want to say to any woman who says this? You, and I will not even say things like, I feel we are all equal and the same. Our status, our professions, our money, or the way we speak, the way we dress has got nothing to do with our self-worth or identity. So here we could be sitting in the most underprivileged class or the most overprivileged class, but this sentence, चलो मारता तो नहीं है, आपको उस टाइम पे क्या फीलिंग आई थी? And can we ban that from our life? At least the women who are sitting here, even the men, please don't. I mean, I'm just saying, let no woman say this sentence ever to herself.
उस टाइम पे तो यही फीलिंग आई थी कि चलो मारता नहीं,
but
when now I think about it,
and was it because of a comparison to the first one? ये था.
absolutely, my
तो
whole मापदंड of a man was because well, I was never in a relationship, so I never knew what to expect out of a man, and so my only measure was the first marriage. But now when I think about it, and now when I think कि चलो कम से कम मारता नहीं है, I feel like saying Kareena Kapoor's dialogue from Chal, very Bollywood I am, please excuse me.
So am I. Let's have fun.
So I feel like saying that dialogue from Jab We Met. कितनी बड़ी गधी थी मैं.
Yes.
Like, really? But again, see, let's go back in time. Because this is not, what I'm talking is not today. What I'm talking is many years back. So that happened, and because the comparison was with somebody who was not even, pardon me, but he was not even human. So comparing someone with that So now the second marriage entailed a lot of mental and emotional abuse. When I say that, a lot of incidences, we could go into as many as you want to hear, but I would just give you one small example, which broke me to quite an extent. So the person I was married to then, his mother, was adamant to prove that Swati is mentally not stable. And in her endeavor to do that, she manipulated not just me but my parents. I was made to travel from Chandigarh to Delhi, not once but repeatedly, to meet psychiatrists, psychologists, sit through tests, prove that I'm mentally stable. That is where I then thought that abhi yahi life hai. I had given in long back, but तब लगा कि अगर मुझे अपने आप को ये प्रूव करना पड़ रहा है कि मैं मेंटली स्टेबल हूँ, and this is somebody who obviously is highly educated, who has been working all her life, who has a social, and I mean, I don't need to say, it's right in front of you, right? If I have to prove that I am mentally stable, where exactly am I and what am I even doing in life? But because that was my second marriage and because I had two younger sisters, I thought it's okay. So be it. All kites don't fly. Some lie on the floor, I shall land on the floor. As long as I'm there.
What was the agenda behind all this?
Oh, trust me. Let me know one day and I shall. You don't know. I don't know till date. I don't know till date what the agenda was.
I'm assuming there had to be one for somebody to take this step.
I'm assuming.
There has to be an agenda.
I'm sure. But sometimes it's just the psyche of the person, because the person himself was just a puppet, if I may use the word. There was hardly any thinking, hardly any emotion, there was no relation per se. There was a marriage, but there was no relation. I would be there around the house, but there would be absolutely no conversation. And I'm not saying communication, I'm saying conversation. Not even as it is a hi, acknowledging the other's presence. So that wasn't there. But anyway, so I guess sometimes when you don't have the courage to take a step for yourself, the universe pushes you, what creates situations, and वो अपने आप ही कहते हैं कि this is not for you. So I guess that is what happened, and eventually I decided to move on. The call back then, I remember my dad asking me this. He asked me, he said कि तू देख तुझे क्या चाहिए, तूने रहना है इसके साथ, तू रह ले. If you want कि ठीक है, just a figure, like a husband figure next to you. कहते but तू फिर खत्म होएगी, मतलब then you don't, that's not the life that you thought for yourself or that I thought for you. That's what he meant. He said, नहीं रहना, मैं तेरे साथ हूँ, मत रह. That got me thinking, and that gave me strength, I would say. So when you say, will you point a finger at your upbringing? How can you even think of pointing a finger at such an upbringing? So then we are, again, when I say we, it's me and my family. We decided that this ain't happening. Let's move on in life. अब decision तो ले लिया, आ गए, but it's not a switch on, switch off, right? It's not, I'm not
Never
a
is.
robot.
Never is.
I invested
long
time, I invested effort, I invested emotions into bringing something up. And this is, going back to the lady, the mother of the person. I genuinely invested so much of myself in her that my mother would agree to this. I would listen to her more than what I would listen to my own mother. I would abide by her more than what I would abide with my mother.
A sense of betrayal also. Did you feel a little betrayed as well?
A lot. Yes, I definitely felt betrayed. There were things that were not told to me about his medical condition. Major medical conditions, and I'm not talking like small ones. Major medical conditions that were not told to us. So there was betrayal at that point. There was betrayal when I realized all the manipulations that were happening. So yes, a major sense of betrayal was there.
And Swati, I would like to take a moment here. This is independent of your journey, but I know that there are people who are watching this, and in fact, she and I, we both come from the space of mental health. When she spoke about, going to a psychiatrist, I would please urge everybody that's watching to not take it in a sense that, oh, psychiatrist के पास जाना पड़ता है तो कोई खराब चीज़ है. Why she's saying it is because she's absolutely mentally stable, and there was an agenda to put her down, to make her feel bad. But if people are mentally unstable, which is normal, we are physically unstable, so please go to a psychiatrist, so please know the difference between the two things. So somebody telling me, for example, नहीं तेरा तो हाथ टूटा ही, तेरा, I'm an artist, but if somebody keeps telling me तेरा तो हाथ टूटा है, तेरा तो हाथ टूटा है, जब नहीं टूटा है, ये फर्क भी समझ लीजिए, लेकिन हाथ टूटा है तो मुझे जाना पड़ेगा डॉक्टर के पास. Please make that very clear. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for clearing that out. I never meant it in a derogatory manner.
Not at all. And
Yeah, but in my context, it made no sense.
Yes, because it was being used against you, and it was not with love or concern.
Correct.
There was an agenda there.
So, yeah. Like I said, it's not a switch on, switch off. It's not that after taking the decision, everything was hunky-dory.
It doesn't.
Because, again, certain sentences you don't forget, like the one I told you about legs being chopped, or like the dialogue with my dad.
Yeah.
Similarly, there was this point where after all of this happened and I was back home, I remember telling my parents that, I don't think this life, this materialistic life, this grihast jivan is for me. I feel there is probably a different reason and a path that I need to follow. I just want to go to an ashram and live a life of oblivion. I was that numb. I was numb. I just, when you ask me what were you feeling, I just was not feeling anything. Now, imagine in the same house, in one room, this is what is happening to one sister's life. And in the adjacent room is the other sister who's expecting her first baby. The stark opposite emotions that are going on, and the pressure that my parents have at that time is something I don't think one can fathom, and I really wish and pray nobody has to go through it. The only child that we have in our house, we just probably lost out on that whole time because of all of this that was happening, all the trauma that was coming our way, made us lose out on a lot of happy moments, I would say. But so I thought at that time that this is not the life for me and I must go into oblivion. That's when my mother told me, not in the exact same words, but meaning pretty much thereby, don't be crazy. She's like, you're worth more. You're worth way more. So they literally, they were sort of holding me back, like, nahi jana. मैं कुछ निकल लेती नहीं तो आज ये conversation शायद हिमालय पे हो रही होती. But yeah, So she was clear. She said, no way, you're way worth more, and this is not what you're going to do. So, strength and resilience. That's dad and mom for me. So for me, if I stand, it's on these two pillars, and it's because of that.
Let's give a round of applause. Auntie? Just saying to everybody who's not watching, her mother is sitting right in front behind the camera, and I'm sure it's an emotional time, but I, as the host of Voice of Silence, am thanking Auntie and Uncle that thank you very much, Auntie, because not all parents have this kind of strength to pull. हाँ, इतने लोग हम जानते हैं सोसाइटी में जो बेचारे दबी जाते हैं, and it's a full house, and look at her, just look at her body language. I don't need to say anything. She's standing on her feet. Look at the way she's smiling. Things happen in the past, that's memory, but today is what she's literally rewiring, reparenting herself today. वो तो जीन्स आपके हैं, जीन्स चलो आपके कंट्रोल में नहीं है, लेकिन प्यार तो आपके कंट्रोल में है और हमेशा रहेगा. So, Auntie, I hope that you're feeling better.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm very proud.
She's
Yeah,
upright.
yes.
She is upright.
Right. So, yeah, that was, here is where I learned my next lessons. And I review these learnings are done now. So, this is where I learned about self-love. This is where I learned about believing in yourself. Because here what happened was, while I was giving a lot, but I was not giving anything to myself. I was once speaking to somebody, and she happened to ask me, so what do you do for fun? And kid you not, for 15 seconds I was like, okay. And then my son, what do you mean by fun? she was exasperated. She's like, good, you're in your 30s, you should know what fun is. I said, I read. She's like, that's not fun. So what I mean to say here is that I was totally ignorant to what is happiness to me, what is joy to me, what is fun to me, who am I? That was totally never the question. It's always, you are so-and-so's daughter, you're so-and-so's sister, you're so-and-so's wife, you're, so-and-so's granddaughter. So that the pressure on these shoulders was like 5 generations, not one. That's the kind of benchmark that was set. I come, and fortunately I would say, I come from a family of highly reputed medical professionals, highly reputed architects and engineers. But how and when that translated into a pressure on my shoulders is something we never realized. Neither did I nor did my parents realize that in the whole process, this is what is happening, and somewhere Swati is being, put into a box and forgotten. So that was my learning, that self-love is very important. Until you have that compassion for yourself, you can never have it for others.
And what will you say to people who talk to women like us? I'm also learning it now. When we ask, people say things like, very selfish. What is your reaction then to those people who will say to women like us, who are looking out for ourselves and our happiness so that we can give to others, you're only thinking, you're all about yourself, you're very selfish. First of all, have you been the recipient of this? Okay, I have.
Yeah.
Let's say I say this to you.
I don't
What would you want to say?
have ever been told that I'm selfish. See, self-love and compassion does not mean being selfish, right? And in fact, quoting my grandfather, my Nana ji, that's where I first heard this sentence: self-preservation is not selfishness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which I learned very late in life, but good I did. So selfish is when you don't have empathy for the other person. Selfish would be when I try to get something done at the cost of the other person.
Yes. Thank you for saying that.
As far as I remember, I have not been that person. You know, earlier what I would do is go out and do for the other person at my own cost. Today what I do is I go out and do for the other person, but not at my cost.
And
So-
that's where boundaries have come in.
That's where boundaries, well, if you want to call it that, but it's a very I don't know, I somehow boundaries it doesn't go with me and my persona. मेरे अंदर एक बहुत पंजाबियत वाली चीज़ है कि खुल के वंड के खा kind of a thing, you know. So it's never boundaries for me. But yes, I would say that wherein earlier I would let myself be treated like a carpet, now I know when to tell the other person that, boss, please no.
Yeah,
There's
that's-
always a please there. There's
That's
never
fine.
there's never there's never an element of ego that how dare you do that to me. You do that to me because you want to do it to me.
Yeah.
But boss, please, I don't want to take it.
Yeah. That's
So
what I meant.
yeah, so selfishness is not something, and I think I've been, Kanika, to be honest, I also feel I've been very blessed, and the audience today here is testament to that. People leaving their work, people leaving their clinics, people leaving their babies at home, coming here. You know, I think that's testament to the whole thing. So
It absolutely is.
yes,
So then the next question, and then we move to the final bit, is today you're a career woman, and I would personally want you to give a little piece of your experience to the women out there, especially, and all kinds of women who are going to watch this. When I say all kinds, I mean coming from each section of the financial bracket.
right.
What is your advice to women in vis-a-vis career, work? Like, how important is it? Did it help you build yourself? Did you find a little more of your identity when you started to move into your career? What did it do for you? And what can it do for women?
I will tell you, and not an incident, like, yeah, I'll tell you something in my story about this. So after the second episode, the second marriage, when I came back, and when I was in that frame of mind of going into an ashram, my dad said, "Naukri shuru kar." And I was like all weary-eyed and I was numb in my head and I'm like, what are you even talking? You know? He's like, "Tu naukri shuru kar, baki main dekh lunga." And it was not even 1 week from moving out of my marital home and coming back to my place. And trust me, not even 1 week, and I joined work. I started working. And there's been no looking back. I have shifted gears from being a practicing prosthodontist to a management professional, and now concurrently also doing life coaching. So I believe career and education are very important, and that's, I would say, gender agnostic, to be honest.
It
But
is.
if we
I
say
wanted to be
particularly,
specific.
yeah, if we look at the Indian scenario, yes, the women probably need to hear this more. Any socio-economic background, any geographic background, whatever it is very important for you to be involved in something which is yours, which nobody can take from you. And I feel that has also been a major part of my being the way I am. Because there was always a focus, there was always a desire to move up, do better. So that kept me going. And I would strongly suggest, request, whatever, prescribe that you have to focus on yourself. You have to focus on something that the world cannot take away from you.
I agree.
You can take away my wealth, you can take away my beauty, you can take away every piece that I own in terms of material things. You cannot take away what is here. Build this, and rest will follow.
And moving on, I think there's a little poetry piece that you would like to share, something about your learnings. You want to move to your learnings now? Whatever you would like.
Overall, I would say from the entire आज तक की journey. अभी तो picture बाकी है.
हाँ, अभी तो
I
बहुत
hope
picture
that
बाकी है.
अभी गाने बाकी हों, अभी सुंदर कपड़े बाकी हों.
सरसों के खेत is still to be done.
So I hope all that is baki.
Yeah.
But abhi tak ki jo journey hai, what would you like to share as your experiences and learnings?
Couple of things, Kanika. One being freedom. Your freedom of choice, your freedom of expression, your freedom of thought. Never give that to anybody.
Don't outsource it.
That is yours, and you must exercise it. Another thing is, like I said, to keep moving. Life is transient. Life is not permanent. Today, what seems to be your goal will eventually just be a part in your journey. You will surpass it. You will have another goal, then another. So, your endeavor should be to grow from what you go through, that should be your concept. And yeah, on that note, if you permit, I can't really see from the diaries yours old, but there was just a little something which I had written back in the day. तू चल, तू थक, तू गिर, तू चल एक बार फिर, तू कर दृढ़ इरादा एक, तू चल उस पर कर काम नेक, न डर तू आंधियों से, न फिक्र कर कल की, कदमों पे होगी मंजिल वो और आंख होगी छलकी, तू चल, तू थक, तू गिर, तू चल एक बार फिर, लगा दाव तू खेलबाजी, शिद्दत पे तेरी होगा खुदा राजी, मत डर पत्थरों से जो रोकते हैं राहें, हर पत्थर हिला देंगी मेहनत की बाहें, फिर खोल उन बाहों को गले लगा लेना, कर शुक्रिया पत्थर का उसे भी दोस्त बना लेना, तू चल, तू थक, तू गिर, तू चल एक बार फिर, तू पहुंच शिखर पर और देख मजा, मंजिल से भी बेहतर है उसका रास्ता, तू चल इस राह पर बेफिक्र हो निडर, तू चल, तू थक, तू गिर, तू चल एक बार फिर. That has been my takings from wherever I have walked.
It's keep walking. And gratitude for bring it on. As keep walking. Bring it on. Bring it on. Keep bringing it on. Yeah, that's what it means basically. This is beautiful. You've written it yourself? Yes. That's amazing, Swati. It's such a pleasure to have you today. And I say this with all my speakers that we may not actually, we are all fellow travelers. And sometimes we touch each other, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we see each other, sometimes we don't. But I think these sessions kind of help each one of us to take something back. I may not have, nobody has unique experiences. I'm not Swati Uppal, she's not Kanika, Kush, right? But still we are all the same, And now kuch jab ek insan decides to open their heart out, which you said, like I said, silence, right? Where that's why I harp on this so much, that we need to speak up, because हमारे सच सेम है, हमारे झूठ अलग है. तो हमारे जो सच सेम है वो तो सामने लेके एक दूसरे को हाथ पकड़ के हम चल सकते हैं आगे, we don't feel alone. And thank you so much for that, Swati. I really, really hope somewhere that I know we have benefited. Truly hope that you benefit by speaking out in an audience. I know it's a familiar audience.
even so, by hearing your own voice out, I really hope that helps even more in your healing journey. And with that, if I could have a few last sentences from you, because you're the voice of love in the voice of silence, is there anything that you would like as your parting sentences to say to the audience?
Can I go Bollywood?
Yes.
Can I go lyrical?
Yes, please. The stage is yours.
And can I invite the audience to join me if they know the lyrics?
Of course, please, that'll be fun. Yeah.
All right. जिंदगी की यही रीत है, हार के बाद ही जीत है, थोड़े आंसू हैं, थोड़ी हंसी, आज गम है तो कल है खुशी, जिंदगी की यही रीत है, हार के बाद ही जीत है. You gave me 8 minutes for this. God bear me. Sorry. गम का बादल जो छाए तो हम मुस्कुराते रहे, अपनी आँखों में आशाओं पे दीप जलाते रहे. आज बिगड़े तो कल फिर बने, आज रूठे तो कल फिर मने, वक्त भी जैसे एक मीत है, हार के बाद ही जीत है.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Swati. It's wonderful to be here today.